Hey, Dr. Maiysha here. And as I shared in a previous video, I'm going to be answering some questions and reflecting on some insights that I've received since doing my TEDx talk in March of 2026. The talk, if you haven't listened to it, is called Why I'm Sorry Doesn't Heal Relationships, Moving from Apology to Repair. One of the questions that I received is, what if the other person isn't willing? That is a question I received so many times. What if we want to repair, but the other person does not want to repair? And so in the talk, one of the things I say is not all relationships need to be repaired. And it does take two. It does take two to be willing. And so when I talk about the repair framework, the remap framework, which is applicable in multiple trauma-informed communication contexts, but I used it in the talk as part of the repair framework. When I talk about the remap framework, the A is acknowledgement, accountability. And so one of the things we can do, even if the other person doesn't want to repair, if we want to repair, sometimes that level of just acknowledging what we can acknowledge about what happened, about maybe what part we might have played, and taking accountability for whatever part we may have played. And sometimes we have to sit with that and reflect. And it's not about blame. Let's be very clear. This is not about assuming blame. It's not about assuming full responsibility, because in any relationship, there are two people involved. And if we think about the drama triangle, there are three parts to the triangle. We all have the capacity to play a part in that drama triangle, which is the persecutor, the rescuer, or the victim, right? And so when we think about relationships where one person is willing to repair and the other person is unwilling, we can only control what we do. We can only control what we're able to do. And if you're wanting to repair and you're willing to acknowledge and be accountable for what you can be accountable for, again, not assuming blame, not assuming full responsibility, but just being accountable for what you can be accountable for and being committed to what you can be committed to, then that is all you can do. And that can be painful. It can hurt when you want to repair, but someone else doesn't. And I can share, I've certainly been in situations where relationships have completed, even though I would have wanted to repair. And I have had to grieve and come to acceptance that that desire to repair was not reciprocal. There have been instances where people have wanted to repair with me, and I have been unwilling because that relationship was not healthy. The values were no longer aligned. And I had to set that boundary and say, I think it's time to complete. And so it's important to understand, when a person sets a boundary that they are unwilling or they don't want to repair, we can only do what we can do. We can plant a seed. We can give an apology. And there's another video that's coming about the apology versus repair, because, I'm sorry is a word, but what's more important is what happens after that, right? And so if you are a person who's on the end in which the willingness is unreciprocated, sending you energy, because I know how that feels. And just know that you can only be responsible for what you can be responsible for. You can only control your own actions, and you can acknowledge the impact. You can acknowledge what you can be accountable for. You can apologize if you are at any source of harm, but you cannot expect nor can you force reciprocation. And you never know. Sometimes you can say what you say and live the amends, right? Living amends. You can live the amends, and then time could heal that wound for that person, and they may be willing to repair. Now, whether you're willing at that point is a different story, but that's possible as well. All right. So I hope this has expanded some context on what happens when that willingness is unreciprocated. Go forth and share this video if it's valuable to you. And until the next time I see you, stay empowered.